We are back.
This is
This is
me.
this is the South, and we got mosquitoes and everything in here. Yeah, it's another Tuesday, another live discussion about 7:45 ish.
You good?
Thank you, narrator, for letting us know what the exact time is. So yeah, it's about 7:45 ish, another Tuesday. So we're back. What can we say? But before we do that, every Monday, all right,
Talk about it.
every Monday,
What's going on Monday, Jack?
another episode drops, man.
What episode, Jack?
Another episode of Real Talk on the Righteous Unity YouTube channel, UNITEE.
Okay.
Go check that out. We're up to 40 episodes.
Nice.
Last two episodes, episode 39, episode 40, were real good. We were talking about the devil, Satan, the adversary. And, a lot of people have questions about that sometimes. Does it exist? Whatever the case may be, go check it out. I feel like y'all missing out. If you're watching this on Facebook, Instagram, and you have not subscribed to the Righteous Unity YouTube channel, and you pull up for the discussions, that's great. But we need you to subscribe to the channel. Check out those episodes. Give us feedback. A lot of good content gets dropped in those episodes. So yesterday we dropped a episode at 6:30. Every Monday, 6:30 p.m. we drop an episode. But that's on Mondays. Today's not Monday.
Today's the live version of Real Talk. I run this joint.
Okay. Well,
I run this one. This is what I do.
I said everything that I needed to say. So on Tuesdays are live discussions, and I don't
you don't know what's going down.
I don't know what our topics are. Sometimes people hit me up and say, like, "Hey man, what are y'all talking about on Tuesday? I want to know." And I tell them, "You'll know before I know." But make sure, listen, also too, before we get started, hit us up. If there's something specific you want to talk about, hit us up on our Instagram, on our YouTube channel. Leave a message for us, and we don't turn down any smoke. I don't believe so.
No, sir.
So hit us up.
All the smoke,
and we'll dive deep into the topic. So without further ado.
So what we're about to do is we're going to get into a discussion, but let's make sure people understand what it's about. This is not about just a bunch of statements being made. We want to walk through methodically our claims as Christians, because a lot of times people get preached at, but there's no dialogue, or there's no breaking down why we believe what we believe, or how do we do something logically, philosophically, scripturally, in order to create some solid evidence to be able to stand on regarding our faith. And so when we have this dialogue, this open live discussion, which you can chime in, that will be read by my lovely wife, who's narrating from behind the scenes, but she'll speak the question that you might ask us, or the statement that you might make that you would like us to respond to. We love people to challenge the things that we make statements about, but we're only here to have an open dialogue. We're not here to, clash with people, even though it might seem like we're resisting something that somebody may say to us. We're here, though, to walk through, to think it through, walk it through methodically, and have a time to logically explain ourselves and express what we believe and why we believe it. Sound good?
Sound good. I just looked at my
Here we go. See,
my laptop.
This is the type of stuff. This is why we're low budget, low viewing, low budget. That this guy's now going to charge his computer. This is crazy. While live, low budget studio we got going on here. Look at this dude's arm all in the.
All you had to do was do what most pastors do on Sunday mornings and just say, what we're gonna do is just talk real slow. I hurry up and did that.
I want to talk about.
Oh wait, good point. Let me cut you off real quick. Good point about that. This is not just about preaching down to, or or just getting a bunch of doctrine information, you could do that on Sundays. This is really about everybody can't go to their pastor after a sermon is over with and say, like, hey, when you said that verse, like, what
Yeah.
would you mean by that?
Yeah.
Sometimes they may have armor bearer blocking them. And so this gives you the time to be able to engage, like, oh, what does it mean to walk by faith? What does that even, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So that was a great point. I just wanted to share that and say that again. This is the time to really just have that dialogue, have that real conversation that you don't get on Sunday sometimes.
Amen. All right. Now, I want to talk about, why does it seem like
Lazy Christians.
no, that was last week. We're off
please,
that topic. I got a little aggressive and passionate last week. But today, I want to talk about, why does it seem like people feel that you have to be poor to be a good Christian? And why is it a hard discussion to talk about riches as a Christian?
Okay.
Why does it seem like we have to be poor to be a good Christian? And then why do we feel like it's difficult to talk about riches as a Christian?
Okay. Well, I mean, I think first of all, when you're addressing, I mean, there's verses that seem to allude when you're addressing about blessed are the poor.
Yep, that's the verse I was going to. They say, blessed are the poor in spirit, not poor in spirit.
Okay, but you also have numerous verses that address. I mean, well, you have a verse that addresses about how difficult it is for a rich person to make it into heaven. So the contrary,
But does that mean because it's difficult that a person should strive to be poor?
No, I don't think they should strive to be poor. But if I'm reading, I'm like, oof, this, this is the route. This is gonna be very difficult for them to make it in. You know what? This route.
Should you though? I'm here just asking the question. Deviate from going after. Let me say it the right way. From feeling like I should not be rich because I realize it says how hard it is for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. But that's in one area of the gospel. That's in one gospel. And another gospel thing, but it adds more context to what Jesus was making reference to. How hard it is for a rich man who trusts in his riches to enter heaven. So in one verse, in one gospel, it doesn't say when to try it is for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of heaven. So outside of another gospel where it says how hard it is for a rich man who trusts in his riches to the kingdom of heaven, that piece there, trust in his riches, is that I think about when it comes to if we find ourselves landing in a place of blessing or prosperity, right?
Okay. I'm about to preach that huh?
See, that's what I'm saying. We're just talking. I'm asking questions. Why does it seem like in order to be a better Christian, you have, or why is it that talking about riches as a Christian is very difficult when it comes to riches?
To each its own. I think the examples you have to go off and see what example have we seen in our lives of rich people doing great, example for believers. I mean, you can look in the Bible and look at, probably Solomon, like in everyday life, most of the rich people, even though they claim to be believers, doing dirt and they're doing wrong.
So I have to make sure that if I was going to think about the question and how to answer them, I can't always look at people for my answers in the sense of example. I have to first find the information that the Bible offers to get my mind regarding wealth. I have to understand what the Bible teaches wealth.
I ain't supposed to be storing that joint up, though.
Do you agree?
You can't use a person or the abuse of what they're doing to make your standard.
You can't do that.
But you have to find the original standard.
Exactly. So what does the Bible say about wealth? I just want to talk about why it seems like the only time I can be a better if I avoid the path that could lead to riches. Now, again, that certain paths that people take to get rich, it could be a very unhealthy path. But if somebody is diligent, they might prosper because of their diligence. And the Bible speaks about
Okay.
within the diligence of the individual, they will reap the benefits. You with me?
I'm with you.
So that path, though, that they're using of diligence, justice, fairness, honesty, and while they're committed up being favored, right? Should from that because people are honoring me because they're respecting the that I show, the goodness that I show towards others, the fairness that I show towards others, diligence I put behind my efforts in doing my work and doing my job to reap the benefits.
No, I think not lying on people, showing up, doing the things that are already seen in the scriptures, and if we get rewarded for that and by whoever's standard having a bunch of riches, then sure, I'm for that. I just think your question is so difficult to talk about or why. And I think another piece, we always look at the example, right? Christ is always like our example and our person that we look at. Christ decked out in a bunch of riches. We don't see. So I'm going. Your question is why is it so difficult or a person to like think about riches and things like Savior, not this person who's striving for riches, but is striving for and being in ministry. Once again, it doesn't mean that you can't, but it's like, but let's look at what his focal point is.
Well, I think you also need to look at the amount of verses that help us better understand the spirit of Christ, because we can't do what Christ did in the sense of we're not called to die on the cross for the sins of the world.
Of course.
Okay, what I'm saying then is, but when we do bear our cross, as we are told to do, what are those sacrifices that are expected of us? Or what is the Christ-like spirit that we're expected to maintain as we live out our day-to-day lives, right? And when you read the scriptures, the Bible mentions how that we can find favor with God and man by the way we obey the commandments or by the way we keep ourselves before the Lord. Now, again, finding favor with God and man doesn't always mean it's going to be very prosperous, but it does show us we can experience some really good things on this side of heaven based on the way we live our lives, the way we commit ourselves to doing that which is upright and good and truthful. We also can have a lot of bad days because people may not like our honesty, like our righteousness, like our commitment to holiness, like our commitment to truth, right? So we have to understand then that, like like Paul said, he's learned to be abased and he's learned to abound. He's learned I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. In that same portion of verses, he's making reference to how there are days that he's experienced multiple blessings. But then there are days also when he has been without a whole lot. But because his goal isn't to get a whole lot, when he has it, he understands what to do with it. And when he doesn't have it, he understands it doesn't define him, or it doesn't define him not having his right relationship with God because he doesn't have all these blessings. You follow me?
I follow you. But so are there any verses in the text that will allow us to look at riches as some great thing?
I never said great.
Well, I'm just saying that would have put us in a mindset that would, I guess, go against this negative.
Let's look at Timothy.
Timothy, what? This guy wants to read a bunch of verses. All right, let's go.
I'm not supposed to read verses when you just ask for verses. What's going on here?
You'll know them off the top of your head.
1 Timothy chapter 6. Come on now, let's give the people some word, Jack. Like, come on now, right?
I see.
Moderator, how we doing? Silence, crickets out there.
They don't want to hear this, man. All right, person.
No, because he saw the low budget guy trying to hook up his computer that was dying.
Listen, they want to hear that riches talk. They want that.
All right, listen to what it says. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 17. Listen to what it says. Charge them or command them that are rich in this world that they be what?
Not high-minded.
Not high-minded, nor trust in uncertain riches. He didn't tell them not to have them, right?
Right.
He just tells them not to trust in the uncertainty of riches, but in the living God who giveth us what? Richly things to enjoy. Semicolon, added on to 18, that they do good, that they be rich in good works, ready to distribute, willing to laying up and store for themselves a good foundation, distribute, willing to laying up and store for themselves a good foundation against the time to come, that they may lay hold on eternal life. Now, this verse makes us aware that the scriptures bear witness there are rich people in the church. Yes?
Yes.
Now, these rich people in the church got converted while rich.
Okay.
Paul does not admonish them to go and be broke.
Okay.
Now, when you go to the book of Acts, you see like Barnabas, the son of consolation. He had extra land. He sells it and he gives it so that they can distribute to the poor. That doesn't mean he sold all that he had. He sold some excess product that he had, and he used the wealth from the stuff that he sold and brought it to the apostles so that it could be distributed to the poor. That doesn't mean he made himself poor.
What about the verse where everybody sold all their possessions and distributed evenly amongst everybody?
So again, you have to look at that from the perspective of it's not that they literally lost or they gave up everything. It just shows us that there were some who had a lot, and in order for them to help others come up to them, they were able to sell what they had. And then all men had everything equal. You understand what I'm saying?
I like that. That sounds like socialism, baby.
I don't know about all that. I'm
just throwing that out there.
I'm not saying nothing
If some of y'all believers got it out there, help your brother in the faith.
Yes, I agree. That's not socialism. That's called being charitable.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying the probably.
Yeah, whatever. I'm not talking.
Isn't that the closest? Isn't that the closest thing?
We're not talking about socialism at all. We're just talking about
equally. Everybody gets things equally.
We're just talking, and it's controlled by the government. Socialism is controlled by the government. Here, it's the individuals willfully did it, which came out of a generosity of their heart. They were committed to the Spirit of Christ. So those that had a whole lot, and those that had a little or hardly anything, those that had a whole lot sold some of the things that they had so that they could help others come up.
Yeah, so that we can get this racial disparity.
Right, sure.
All right.
So anyways, what we have to understand then is these are the scriptures that help us understand how to perceive wealth. Should it be wrong for a Christian who lives honorably before God? Should it be wrong for them to end up developing or accumulating wealth?
No. But let me ask you this.
There's always a but.
There's a but.
I agree, because you have to be mindful.
There's a big but. there's a big but. How do we qualify not being high-minded?
Yeah.
Can you qualify that to an actual tangible asset?
I think it's the next part of that verse, which says, trust and uncertainty of riches. Like your high-mindedness is in your consciousness, your conceitedness is telling you, like the rich ruler. He said, I have much goods laid up for many years. That's conceitedness. That's you actually thinking that you're going to have that longevity to experience that goodness. And what the Lord showed him is, thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. That's in Luke chapter 12, about the one that had many barns and pulled down and made bigger barns. And so we understand, to your point or the question you asked, how do we quantify what that means, what that looks like, right? High-mindedness, right? I'm going to say, as it says later on in the verse, it talks about how it says, nor trust in uncertainty of riches, not to be high-minded, nor trust in uncertainty of riches, but in the living God. So the high-mindedness is for you to assume the more you accumulate, the safer your life will be, the more secure your life will be. That's high-mindedness. You believe in that concept. It doesn't mean that you can't have a lot of things. The concept is, don't trust in that. If you end up having it, awesome. Be a blessing to people.
Okay, what I'm saying is, like,
I still have another verse, but go ahead.
What I'm saying is, if you're a pastor of a church in a low moderate area income, right?
There you go.
And
he's drawing up a picture, y'all.
And in that area, most people are below the poverty line, right? and you pull up in a Bentley.
I think that's crazy. I think that's something that you should reconsider about pulling up in a Bentley when your church is in a very heavily impoverished neighborhood and 80% of your members are in poverty for you to roll up in a Benz or a Bentley.
But to your point, you couldn't necessarily say in and of itself that's high-minded, but those are things that you would question, like, what, you have all these wealth and riches and your mindset was to get a Bentley and not get a church van to get everybody,
or live more in modesty, to where, again, you could, like, your wealth, you can still be wealthy. I'm not telling you to not be wealthy, but concentrate on the purposes of your wealth, the purposes of your accumulation. Again, thinking about how you're not trying to help others. You're not rich in good works, trusting in the living God. This is what it says: be rich in good works. You understand what I'm saying?
ready to distribute.
Ready to distribute. So again, I'm saying this person, though, maybe is giving a lot of money to his community. Maybe he is giving a lot of money to those in his congregation, but they're not at a mental state to sustain that. You with me?
Okay.
The thing is that you can't blame me for being rich because you're too lazy not to get out of your poverty. Now, there are some things that have to be quantified on that, meaning there are some conditions that are literally hindering people from coming out of poverty. But that doesn't mean they have to live in that all the time. They should be striving to do what they can to do better. You with me? Don't just sit there and say to yourself, well, I'll never get out of this. There's many people who have gotten out of poverty in impoverished neighborhoods. Many people.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't want that person that is driving around in a Mercedes-Benz, who's given a lot of money to people, feel condemned that somebody else is pointing the finger at them because they don't want to try and improve their own life. If that person is riding a Mercedes, but we look at his checkbook, and his checkbook has gotten a number of names in it that he's been giving to, he's doing what the Bible says: willing to distribute, willing to communicate, meaning to give. It doesn't say anything about him being wrong for being rich.
Agreed. So long as he's doing the right things.
But I know people judge based on the abuse of what others have done. We know this. What are you smirking about?
No, that's just my thing.
Smirking.
It's just tough for me. From a believer standpoint, I don't really care what the world does in their riches and how they accumulate wealth. But for me, it's tough as a believer seeing this, like, rich, wealthy believer, just because even though I know you said don't look at other people, I just haven't seen a person who's rich according to American society, like, really see them make an impact, I guess, in the community that I lived in or grew up in.
I think that, so again, you can't merge those two things happening. You can't do that because there's a bigger problem in these impoverished African-American communities. There's bigger problems there. And one or two people that are very wealthy aren't going to be able to solve that problem, because I could drop $2 million into a community, right? What happens if that community's mental state or educational state doesn't help maintain that to move it forward and progress from the platform that's built for them with that $2 million? I'm just saying.
Okay. What will happen from that? At least
No. I didn't say. I know that's not what I said. What I said was to sustain it.
Yeah,
that's what I said. How will the people in that community sustain that? Again, and I've already agreed. We can't lump this in there because there's bigger problems in neighborhoods that are experiencing poverty that are based on systemic issues in our community or in our culture. There are systemic issues hindering people from being able to prosper as much and collectively together as much than in other communities. We know that. That's not what we're talking about right now. But what I am...
No, I get that. I just want to go back to the question of why is it so difficult for Christians to talk about? I'm going to be honest. I don't think it's difficult for white Christians to talk about being rich.
You saying it's not difficult for
No, I don't think it
Christians?
is.
Why you say that?
Because they have the wealth.
Because they have the wealth.
So, I mean, if we're going to be... so that's why I keep, trying to find a loop, a way to say that, hey, man, Every time I see somebody who was a black believer, somebody had a bunch of money, they was pimping somebody out. Whether it was the church members, some of some give your blessing, help me out. One dude told me, yeah, I needed a Gucci and Louis to because I'm sweating and perspiring. Yeah, he's on YouTube and stuff. So all I'm saying is, it messes with your psyche. To your point, your question wasn't, is there any scripture to combat why it's tough to talk about that? I'm just addressing your question is, why is it difficult? Well, depending upon your ethnic background, it's going to change. I don't personally, like I said, not being funny, but I don't believe it's tough for white people to talk about being rich of the faith. They'll be like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm tired of people trying to act like there is. I ain't got to be poor. They're probably like, yeah, right on, Pastor Steve. I'm like, okay. You work hard, you get it. That's fine. I have no issues with that. I'm just trying to make sure, man. Just stay not being high-minded and trying to find, because I don't have one person I know who's rich who's done that
in the African American community.
That I know that I could be like, yo, got it out the mud, honestly, without it being the prosperity gospel route.
So you are seeing that. When that is being done, it's because of the prosperity route
which is filthy lucre, right? So it's like,
but I also think that sometimes you may not still see some of the actions that they are doing. And again, that's where we're splitting hairs. I just want to make sure that we understand. I agree to your point. I do believe that it's harder for black people to talk about being rich because
look at the
Christian community, the black Christian community, because there isn't as much of it being seen as there is in the white community, in the white Christian community. And that's a fact. That's not like a diss. It's not a diss at all. It's just a matter of fact. And we know that the wealth distribution in our communities.
It's a matter of history.
Fact, history, however. I'm just saying that the distribution of wealth in communities is definitely improportioned.
Yeah.
So, anyways, but I want to make sure that we understand, because I think that the discussion needs to be had. Talk about wealth. They need to talk about, being a Christian and maintaining the Christian standard. That wealth can ruin anybody. Christian or not Christian.
The love of it as we
right. The love of because I don't want to make it sound like the money is evil. It's not.
Yeah.
But the love of it, or when I say the possession of wealth, it can change people because of what it can do for you. So when I meant by wealth, it can turn people. It can turn people because of what you can do with it. You start having a fixation for getting what it gives you, right? Having a lot of money, you can give people things and you can get things because you have the wealth to get those things. It can turn people. And that's what the Bible is trying to prevent. It's not telling you not to have the money, not to have wealth, but it's telling you to be mindful of what it can do to you as you're pursuing it, what you'll do if you end up having it. David said, don't let me be too rich. Don't let me be too poor. Why? Being too rich, I forget God. Being too poor, I might do something deceitful and against the will of God to get it. You know what I'm saying? So we have to be, those thoughts have to be worked through. We have to work through those, talk them through, understand how to make that applicable to my day-to-day Christian life, and see the concepts that I'm adopting in my mind. Those concepts I'm adopting in my mind, what is it doing to my behavior? Because if I'm having these concepts in my mind that are affecting my behavior and how I should live out towards God, I might have an issue with wealth.
Yeah.
But if I have concepts in my mind that aren't affecting my behavior when I accumulate wealth, that changes me, then I might have a good relationship in understanding how to use my wealth, how to benefit others. And even though I might be accumulating more and I'm still giving, I have to understand that these thoughts, these concepts that I have are to help me stay healthy and wealthy in God while I see the life around me prospering.
Narrator, nothing. Thumbs up.
Man, she's not saying anything.
Sheesh, nobody's watching.
Probably.
So I think that I think that even on Facebook, I think that to be on any end of the spectrum can be extreme, right? To be on this end of the spectrum, about riches and obtaining it, and then to be like, well, no, just be poor is just it's bad anyways. And sometimes people like to put you into this like false dilemma, either like be rich or be poor, which
Right.
one you want to be.
Right.
I think the you know, as you talked about, as long as the person is being diligent, being honorable, doing things in the sight of God that, God will bless them. I was reading Daniel. I'm still in my Old Testament study, and I'm finally made it to the book of Daniel and seeing how many different kings he came up underneath while being in the Babylonian captivity. And yet God still kept favoring him
Yep.
with his insight, and he didn't have to dog anybody. He didn't have to do anything. He stayed true to God, pray 3 times a day, giving him praise. And, so I think you can do it and be honorable. Okay, Susan Hogan, you forgot our YouTube people over here. She said, "I'm here." Well, thank you
Sue,
for being here.
what's up, Sue? That's Sister Susie. What up? She said she's here.
Yeah, but let me say this: do you believe that it's more of a challenge to do that which is honorable, being rich versus being poor, or do you feel like it's the same?
Say that again.
Do you feel like it's more of a challenge as a rich person to do that which is righteous in the sight of God than it is for a poor person, or do you feel like it's the same?
It's the same, because you could be, like I said before, you can practice covetousness with $5 in your bank account.
So then why doesn't the Bible say it's difficult for a poor person to enter in? Why does it make it seem?
Oh, no. It talks about the poor person too. It talks about the poor person stealing, cheating, being perverted in what they do. It addresses those things. It says those things.
Yeah,
so you can be just as corrupt as a poor person than you are as a rich person. Let's not don't give the poor person
I'm not giving him a pass. I'm just saying the verse says it's real difficult and tough for a rich person making it, but it don't say that.
It doesn't say for a rich person to get into heaven.
What does it say?
For those who trust in riches to get into heaven. It says, because I said the one.
I don't know. You got to pull up that verse. I don't know if you quoting that correctly.
I'm definitely quoting that correctly.
We're gonna.
In one gospel it says it's hard for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of heaven. Then in another gospel it says
rich man,
a rich person to get into.
Okay.
Then it says a rich person who's trusting in his riches to get into heaven. So the riches is not preventing him from getting into heaven. It's his trusting in riches, which deviates his behavior, which causes him to turn from God because he's got so much wealth. He forgets God. Like David said, don't let me be too rich so I don't forget you. Don't let me be too poor so I become corrupt.
I know that verse. I love it. I live by that.
How many times are you going to say that?
I live by that. But here's my thing. Why aren't there any verses to your point then? Why isn't there any verses that say the poor man who trusts in his riches? Because the poor man still got riches, right?
No, he doesn't. How does a poor man have riches to the degree he's trusting in his riches in the sense of a rich man?
You just said you could be covetous with
covetous, yes.
With $5.
Yep, you could be covetous.
So what if? So you're saying that you can't make, even though it's not much, an idol out of what you have?
You can, Jack.
I'm just saying that it just seems like,
because we're not talking about the rich. We're not talking about a who has no riches. His preventing getting into heaven could be him becoming corrupt because he wants to do.
You got the rich ruler coming to Jesus. You don't get no poor man coming to Jesus. So
a lot of poor people coming to Jesus.
Well, you do.
You got a lot of poor people coming to Jesus. What are you talking about?
But in conversations, you don't get no poor. Listen, I believe that they are both sinners. Yes. I'm just saying it seems like it's more difficult because a person who has more riches has less need for God than a poor person, because a poor person doesn't have those things to distract them.
Okay. I see what you're saying for your original point. Is it harder for, I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. I get it. Okay.
I mean, you ain't answered, but.
No, I agree with you now. I understand. I get that. I misunderstood the question.
Yeah, they're both sinful in the eyes of God. But
oh my God, this dude.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Sister Susie said, "Hey, Pastor Steve."
Hello, Sister Susie.
Let her know. This is my show.
No, she's good. She don't need to know.
Jack. This is Jack.
Actually,
Jack's
this
show.
is my time. I do the live versions. You do the recorded versions. So chill out. Hold
Well,
on.
hopefully, Sister Susie, you are a subscriber.
She is because she wouldn't have been
No,
on.
you can easily get on.
Okay.
As long as the live is on. This guy
Oh.
is so old. I mean,
Yeah.
you're probably the reason why we don't get any subscribers. You're telling people the wrong information. Sister Susie, make sure you please click the subscribe button so you can have all the episodes that we do. There's about 40 episodes you can
snaps.
check out and watch. So thank you for sticking through this live discussion, but make sure you subscribe and then you can check out all of our episodes. Just go click on the playlist and there's
She
40
said something.
episodes. I watch. All right, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. I like you already. My favorite fan now. All right. Pastor Steve, anything else you wanted to
No,
say?
I just wanted to have a
Basically, you want us to know we can get to the bag. Pastor Steve is
No,
saying
that's
you
not
could
what
get
I'm-
to the bag. There's no issues about getting to the
That's
bag.
not what I'm
Just
saying,
honor
no.
God. As long as you honor God, you can get to the bag, right?
I'm not saying any of that. That's not at all what I'm
What's the
saying.
difference between you saying riches and wealth and me saying the bag?
Dude, shut up.
It's no difference. Narrator,
Narrator.
we good?
We're good.
No questions, thoughts? You loving life.
She really is. She over there just like doodling. I don't know what she's doing.
Well, I think it's a good discussion, good topic.
I do too.
It allows us to not always look at a person who has a bunch of riches and be like, oh man, you ain't no believer,
You can't do that.
you know?
You just can't do that.
And hopefully you're not looking at the poor person like they're lazy.
That was a shot. Shots fired.
Anyways,
Oh, that's
if you're still rocking with this,
yeah.
make sure you
Shots
subscribe to
fired,
the
Bert.
YouTube channel Righteous Unity UNITEE YouTube channel. Subscribe,
Oh,
like the episodes, share the
Nice.
episodes, and go get us one more subscriber. God bless.
God bless y'all. Take care.
You get it, Facebook?